What's up, dialysis disciples? So tonight we're gonna take a flashback, and I'm gonna ask you something. Dig in your brain. Maybe for some of you it's far back. Maybe for some of you it might be even yesterday. But how many of you remember the exact day your life changed? The day you got your kidney challenge diagnosis, right? The day you sat in the doctor's office, right? Heard the words kidney failure and felt like the whole world stopped moving. Like you didn't even really know what kidneys even did, but they told you yours were failing, right? So if that's you, you're in the right place tonight. All right. So if you're here watching live, let me get a team live in the chat. And if you're watching on replay, put hashtag team replay so I can give you some love later, right? And if you're watching on YouTube, where we post these live trainings after they leave Facebook because Facebook deletes them after 30 days. So on YouTube, that's where they live. So if you're over here watching this on YouTube, let's get a like, subscribe, comment, and all that YouTubey stuff, right? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Troy Snead, and I've been walking this kidney journey for over 25 years. I've had two transplants. I've been on off and on dialysis multiple times, and I'm a three-time cancer survivor. So I've had countless setbacks that turned into setups, right? And through it all, I leaned on one thing. A diagnosis doesn't define your destiny. Think about it. Your diagnosis doesn't define your destiny, right? Tonight's training is called The Day Everything Changed, How to Accept Your Diagnosis Without Accepting Defeat. Who's ready? Give me some yeses in the chat if you're ready to get down into this, right? Like if you've ever struggled to come to peace with your diagnosis, right? Or maybe you felt angry at God or wondered if life would ever feel normal again, stick around, right? Because tonight we're going to unpack it all, right? And talk about exactly how to move from denial and despair to peace and purpose, right? Let's get some fires in the chat, all right? Because we're going to get right into this. It's not going to be long one tonight, guys, but it's going to be packed with value, right? So get your notebooks if you need them, or press record, whatever device you're on, or press save, or favorite the video, whatever it is you're doing right now, right? So something you have to understand, right, is that the problem, right, is sometimes to accept the diagnosis, it feels impossible, right? First of all, you don't even know what's going on, right? Like kidney disease, like what do my kidneys even do? That's how I was when I first got my diagnosis. I was like, kidneys, what do kidneys even do? Well, I know very well what they do now, right? So let me ask you this. So when you heard that, right, did any of you say to yourself, or maybe after you let it sink in, like this can't be my life, right? Or tried to push it in the back of your mind, hoping it to go away. Like I know a lot of us do that with multiple things in our lives, right? And like that's denial, guys, right? And I'm not talking about the river in Africa, right? That's denial. Like you're telling yourself, "Oh man, I'm not gonna deal with this," and that was me. I did that, and I did it. I didn't even really know I was doing it, right? But denial, it feels good because it protects you from the pain. It protects you from the pain of processing what you just heard. But it also it keeps you it delays your healing, and it delays the peace that comes from acceptance, right? So when you fight accepting it, you're preventing yourself from the peace that follows that acceptance. Who's with me? One's in the chat if that makes sense. I think y'all tracking, right? Right. Most warriors, kidney warriors, don't realize that acceptance doesn't mean giving up, right? It actually means just the opposite. It means opening up. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Right? Opening up to learning and healing and living again, because you're never going to move forward until you accept it and start learning how to deal with it, right? So when you refuse to accept your diagnosis, like maybe you stop going to appointments or you just skip meds because you're like, I don't even want to deal with this, right? You might get angry at God, and you might get angry at the people around you, and it's coming out. You coming out of your neck sideways, like that's what we used to say back in the day. You coming out your neck, like because what they say, pressure bursts pipes, right? So when you not accepting it, it's building up, and whether you know it or not, you're snapping at people, right? And then you lose connection. You lose connection with the people you love, right? And it's all subconscious, guys. So I don't want you guys in denial. So that's what we're here tonight to talk about accepting this thing and switching your mind to realizing that you can't clog it up, right? You have to process it, right? And here's what a lot of us don't talk about. Like you're missing out on the joy of the Lord gives us, right? I've come that you can live life and live life in abundance, right? And when you don't accept your diagnosis, you're clogging that all up. You're not allowing yourself to get to the point where you can start feeling that joy that He promises, right? Right? Because all your energy goes into resisting reality instead of rebuilding your life, right? So I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you about me, right? When I first got my diagnosis, I don't know 20, right? I was in the Marine Corps, and I went to dental to get my wisdom teeth pulled. Some of you who've heard this story before, right? But when they went to get my wisdom teeth, they were like, "We can't pull your wisdom tooth because your blood pressure is so high. Well, go to medical. We'll see why your blood pressure is so high." So I went to medical. They ran some tests, and then that's when they told me. They were like, "Your kidneys are failing, and you have a disease called focal FSGS." I'll say it like that so I won't confuse you with the big words, right? And when I heard that, I was like, "Huh? What's that?" And they were like, your kidneys, they're vital organs in your body. They're beginning not to work. And I'm like, what? Like I didn't feel bad. Like I'm in the Marine Corps. I'm running 3, 4, 5, 6 miles, humping 12 miles a day, right? And in retrospect, I was like, yo, what? I'm tired. Like I didn't like nobody seemed as tired as I was for some. Like I'm like, wait, I'm doing it and they doing it, but I feel like I'm struggling. Well, turns out it's because my kidneys were failing, right? But I wasn't really symptomatic, right? I didn't have any pain. I didn't have headaches or anything like that. So I had no idea that something was wrong with me. So when he told me that, I'm like, what are you talking about? So so maybe you're not accepting it because of a different reason. Maybe you're not accepting it because you already know what it is and what it means, and you're not ready to feel it. Me, I wasn't accepting it because I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what they was even talking about. Like, I think I left like, what was that all about? And I just continued with my life because I didn't know no better, right? But they scheduled me to go to Virginia to see the Navy doctor. So the Navy doctors, these are the big boys, the nephrologists and such. And that's when I sat down and they really broke it down to me what my kidneys did and what was going on. And then I started to get like a little like, okay, wow. But again, I'm still not symptomatic. I'm still not feeling any pain, right? So I've attached to this video the book, A Gifted Tome, the 40-Day Spiritual Fast for Dialysis Patients. We're actually giving away a free chapter. So you just click the link and put your information in, and I'm going to send you a free chapter of the book. But the chapter is the day dialysis began for me. And that's when I had to accept it, right? So I don't want you guys to wait all the way until you actually go into a dialysis treatment to accept your diagnosis. Because the day you're diagnosed, there's a whole long journey until you're on dialysis, right? Some of you are able to cure your kidneys. Some of you get miracle of healing. Some of you switch to a plant-based diet and things of that nature and able to save your kidneys. I have a good friend of mine who's been diagnosed with CKD, right? But he just has a radical diet change. And when he sees his doctors, his numbers are good, right? So it's a long journey before dialysis, CKD, or diagnosis into dialysis. And all that time, right, is different between how some of us accept it and how some of us don't, right? So let me ask you guys this. How many of you believe that if you if you like accept your condition and say, okay, I got to deal with this, it means you're giving up on getting better? Think about that, right? Because, this is a faith based platform, right? You can have faith for healing and still accept where you are, right? Think about it. Like, you can have faith, and if your faith doesn't deny the reality of the situation, it only changes how you respond to it, right? Like, faith tells you that, Psalms 121, like, he protects us, he's there, he preserves me, right? And so that's how you frame it, right? And we did a lesson on framing before, right? So it changes how you respond to it. Now, when I first got my diagnosis, I wasn't walking the path that I'm walking now. So I had, I was filled with the enemy's thoughts, not the thoughts of Christ, not the mind of Christ, right? Um, and and it was set in a state of confusion, right? I didn't really have fear. It was more about confusion and unawareness. Like, I don't even know what's going on. And like I told you, I didn't fully accept my condition. Maybe 5 years since the diagnosis, from the time I was diagnosed to the time I was on dialysis, I never really accepted it, right? I only accepted it when they took that first needle and put it in my arm. And I talk about that in the book, right? I've just lost it all. Everything I had just blew up, right? I don't want that happening to you guys, right? So I want you to accept your condition. I want you to learn all you can learn. Get on these lives, right? Ask the doctors questions, right? Remember, they work for you. The doctors work for you. Don't come to them with your hands out like, save me, doc. No, have some questions. Every time you go to that doctor's office, if you're early in this journey, have some questions. Can my kidneys be healed? How do I heal them? What should I eat? Where's the dietitian? Make me an appointment. Now, you got to be aggressive in advocating for yourself, guys. All right. And when you come from a faith standpoint, right, and you have the Holy Spirit speaking to you, you know that's what you have to do. Who's with me? Who's with me, guys? All right. So when we resist what's happening, we stay stuck in emotional chaos, right? We miss out on peace, like, because we're always at war with ourselves. That's a whole nother video, right? We aren't able to get the support we need because we push people away. Come on now. And most importantly, we don't get the spiritual clarity we need because we can't hear God through the noise of our frustration, right? You can't conquer what you don't confront, right? So when you fight your diagnosis and fight the acceptance of your diagnosis, these are all the ways it affects you, right? And listen, I know how you feel, right? It took a while, but I felt the same way, right? When I first heard end stage renal disease, right? So when you first get diagnosis of CKD, chronic kidney disease, all the way through the stages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're in end stage renal disease, and you have to start dialysis, right? That's a whole long journey, as we talked about. But when I heard end stage renal disease and dialysis, it still hadn't really hit me. I still really didn't accept it, right? And like I told you, it boiled up and it boiled up and it hit me hard, right? Right. So at that point, I thought all at once, I thought it was a death sentence, right? But what I found out was that it's actually a doorway. Come on now. It's not the end. It's just a new beginning, right? And when you have that faith framework, that's the way you start to look at things, right? So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to help you guys. I'm going to give you 3 new ways of thinking about your diagnosis, right? Okay? So if you're here and you listen to this and you just heard that you have kidney disease, and just so you know, guys, a little aside, when I put these lives together, right, I'm only talking about the things that you want me to talk about. For most of you, when you join the group, one of the questions is, what's your biggest challenge and struggle with dialysis, right? And one of the people who joined said, accepting the diagnosis. So that's what we're here talking about, accepting the diagnosis, right? I'm not going to come up here and talk about something that's not going to help you guys, right? And I know there's more people out there, whether you're catching this on the replay or not, who accepted who have a hard time accepting the diagnosis of what they learned about their future, right? So again, I'm gonna give you some new ways to look at it, right? So I know for me, and I'm sure some people out there are like, why is this happening to me, or why me, God? Because that was me, right? So, but when you keep asking yourself that, it keeps you trapped in the past, right? Right. So instead of asking why me, God, ask what now, God. Right. You see how the second question frames you forward and frames it towards a future destination rather than a past. Why me? Did I do this? Am I being punished? I should have did this. I should have did that. You know. But when you say what now, now you're focused on the future. Now you're asking God how He wants to use you in this season, right? When you do that, you move from like a victim to a student, right? You move from asking for escape from what you heard to asking for wisdom, right, on how to move, right? You see how everything we talk about in these lives is just mind shift and different way to think about things, right? And this is all because the Spirit will guide you to think the proper way, right? So just think. You can write it down if you want, or just just think in your mind, like, what's one thing you learned in your kidney journey so far, right? Whether you're new, whether you've been dialyzing for years, what's something you learned, right? That's forward facing too. Something you learn, because now you're taking the past and you're not dwelling in it. You're reframing and reflecting on it. It's a different thing to dwell in the past and reflect on the past. So reflecting on the past is asking yourself, looking back and thinking, what have I learned on this journey, right? Maybe it's patience. Some of you waiting for a transplant, right? Maybe it's gratitude, right? Thank you, God, that you give me opportunity to stay here with my loved ones with this incredible treatment known as dialysis, right? Dialysis is a blessing, not a burden, guys. Another mind shift, right? Or maybe it's purpose. Like for me, I use this journey to ask God, what does He want from me, right? And what He revealed to me, again, day 38 of the 40-day spiritual fast that's linked to the video, to this live, He showed me my purpose was to help you guys, right? So that's why I'm on here now talking to you, right? So if you reflect on what you've learned, He'll use that to catapult you to what He wants you to do. Y'all with me? Fire's in the chat if y'all with me, right? So when you change the question, it changes your focus, and that's where peace begins, right? So, guys, I like to ask you guys a lot of questions, because I can tell you something, and it might go in one ear and out the other. But if I ask you a question and you go inside yourself and answer it, now it's like you're giving yourself the answer. It's not coming from me. That makes sense, right? So how many of you ever feared what your future would look like, right? I have all these plans, I have all these dreams, but now I have this CKD diagnosis. What does that mean for my future, right? So the fear will scream, you ain't gonna make it, you probably gonna die. But faith whispers, I'm with you always. Come on, guys. This is the part that gets me fired up when we start talking about the love and the power of our Father, right? I'm with you always, right? That's what you got to hear. You can't hear the what ifs and what happens if I and all that stuff. You got to just think about how far He's brought you already, right? And the fact that He tells you that He's always with you, right? So that's what I want you to do, guys. I want you to have like a faith statement, something that whenever, the fear tries to creep in, the word says, take every thought captive and replace it with something like, God didn't bring me this far to leave me. So how old are you guys? How old are you? 30, 35, 40, 50, 60? That's how long God's always been taking care of you, right? And even if you have a kidney diagnosis, that doesn't mean He's going to stop doing so, right? You have to listen to this diagnosis as something that He's leading you to, another door, another way to the future that He has laid out for you, right? You don't need to know the how. You just need to remember the who, right? Okay. So another question, let it bubble in your soul, right? How many of you know that sometimes God allows something to be taken from you? Hear me now. So he can show you what can't be shaken. Come on now, right? If he's taken, so I know my father, like I'm not going to pretend to know what he knows or thinks what he thinks. He says, my ways are higher than your ways, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts, saith the Lord, right? So I'm not going to pretend to know. But what I've learned, right, is that if he closes the door or if he removes something from you, right, it's because he has something better for you, right? Or he's attempting to show you his power and for you to put your trust and reliance in him, right? So when you stop seeing dialysis as the enemy and your kidney diagnosis as the enemy, you start seeing it as God's tool, right? You with me? It's a tool that he's using to strengthen you, right? And when you start thinking that way, that's when everything changes, right? That's when you start forward facing. You with me? You with me? Right? And another thing he'll show you to do is who you can help, right? Ask yourself, who could I help by sharing my story, right? And that's what I'm doing today with you guys. I'm sharing my story and helping people. I know that someone is going to hear this and it's going to help them. And that's all. All I'm doing in obedience, right? That's why I'm here now talking to you guys. Is because He commanded me to help people this way, right? And something else I've learned is like the moment you use your pain to serve somebody else, that's when it becomes power, right? So, right, you got this diagnosis, and you're thinking, you may be thinking, I'm a weak person, right? I'm weak, I'm a burden, right? But when you shift that to how can I use to help people, that's when it becomes powerful. You see that? Tell me you see that, guys. Some ones in the chat if y'all see that, right? So how can you help some people, right? So again, I don't have this isn't a long live, guys, because this is an easy one to talk to you about, right? Like you have to use your story to help people, right? You have to shape your mind and switch your mind to a place that my diagnosis is not going to drag me down. It's going to boost me up, right? So I like to end in a story, guys. So we're going to talk about Job and his turnaround, right? So Job 42, towards the end of the story, right? He had lost everything. He lost his health, his wealth, his peace, right? But even in the pain, he stayed faithful, right? Just like you have to do. He questioned God, like, hey, he's like, why me? I've been there, right? But he didn't quit and he didn't turn his back on him, right? And the Bible says that after Job prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as before. Ooh-wee. Right? And we know that our Father is faithful, right? And he never changes and he never lies. So he's not going to do that for just Job and not you or me. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Once you accept it, you accept this diagnosis and think about how you can use it to frame help for other people, how you can frame your purpose in your future, right? Job's turnaround didn't start when he got healed. It started when he accepted his situation and still chose to trust God. Lost his kids, his family, but listen, I'm mad, I'm hurt, I'm disappointed, but I know God got me. And in the end, he doubled everything he had, right? So that's what acceptance looks like. It's not quitting, right? But trusting while waiting. All right, guys. So this is what I want to do, right? Right. How many of you want to walk into your next treatment or your next doctor's appointment, right? Feeling peaceful, right? Not panicked, confident that you're not fighting this alone, and finally at peace with where you are while believing that God is taking care of you, right? And believing He's taking you someplace that you don't know yet, right? Right now, so many kidney warriors are stuck in the middle, not at peace with their diagnosis, right? In the beginning, and if you're in dialysis, you're too tired to fight at all, right? You may be trying to stay positive, but your mind's exhausted, your spirit's numb, and your faith, it feels far away, right? So if you want to get over this hump, it's hard to do it by yourself, right? You'll have blind spots, emotional triggers, you're right, maybe some spiritual fatigue that'll make it tough to move forward without any guidance or support, right? And that's why I'm here, right? This is exactly what I help people do in my Hospinetics coaching program. Hospinetics is a divinely inspired three-part coaching healing system, right? That we use to build your personal faith and acceptance plan, right? So you can stop fighting reality, come on now, and start living with peace, purpose, and stability. So if it sounds like something you need, DM me coach, COACH, right now, right? And I'll reach out to you and invite you to a call. Right? We'll hop on the phone, right? And I'll see, we'll talk about like what you're struggling to accept in this journey, right? And we can create a personalized plan just for you to walk you through it, to get you to the other side and start your healing journey instead of staying stuck, right? Right? You don't have to be super spiritual or have it all together, right? You don't gotta be scared to sit down with me. I'm not gonna preach to you, right? Right? This is about making room for peace, not perfection. Hear me. You're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to get some peace and clarity about your diagnosis and how to move forward on dialysis or in your kidney healing journey, right? And this is what I'm going to do for you. I promise. I promise you, this is me. Man of God, I promise you that if you walk this out, you'll go from feeling trapped by your diagnosis to being anchored in purpose, right? Anchored into why it's happening and why you're going through this. And you'll be able to see God's hand in it all, right? So I'm opening up a couple spots this week, some strategy calls to get on. Just me and you. Again, DM me coach, COACH, right? And stop wrestling with the why me and start asking what now. And that's what we can help walk you through, right? So if this blessed you tonight, type value in the chat. VALUE. Put it in the comments. You got any value, right? If you're ready to turn your diagnosis in a direction, DM me coach, right? And we'll build your plan together. Remember, the day everything changed for you isn't the end, right? It's the beginning of what God's about to do next. All right, guys? So until next time, guys, stay strong, dialysis disciples.